what they can do and what they cannot do. Well, those moments were terrible moments, were barbaric moments, were moments which people traded other people's life for their own personal gain or greedy means. And so the era has changed and move on. So it has got to a stage where those who fell out, those who lost those grounds of which was permanently theirs or was supposed to be permanently theirs, are now the generation of me, for instance, and the Red Indians and the so-called, as I said, who are seen as downtrodden in life. They are looked down upon. They are not regarded, and as time goes on, we're creeping in. Some blacks are being regarded, are being respected, because there were people who stood up for their rights, who died for the cause of human rights and fairness and balance in society. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and lots of them, E.D. Du Bois and the rest. There were others who developed as a result of them gradually, that may not be too popular, but there were a few others who all rose up, to sort of defend their grounds of their human rights and whatever they are, and that has been the case, which why there's no respect on that ground. And so this whole program of peace, of settling of peace, is more or less the ruling class and the non-ruling class, the minority and the majority in some respect, and the idea of the majority keeping on with persuasive approach to life, where the majority is always convinced that the minority sort of present themselves that the majority are in good hands, because as they seems to be the ruling class and they are so minority, they have a strategic plan always to control the masses, to sort of to sort of follow their lead in so many respects. Whichever means or whichever cost that is going to take, that is what is being done, and that's a fact. It's not me making it up. This is a practical experience or something which is relatable in today, this moment, now, and not something that I have to guess out or guess it up. No. So it's not necessarily stretched out to every grounds or everybody, but there are still the sense of it. You can sense it, you can experience it. It's embedded into people, and the attitude, the character towards each other reflects these things. And sometimes the words racist and all those things comes up because of all these things. But it's also part of a place where it's very important to this subject, because I think it is something which has not brought peace into the man's conscience. It brings rivalry. The idea of you walking and thinking that's your enemy, or this person might harm you, is there. It's there in the atmosphere. It's something that it's not a secret. And that's what I say, that peace is one core thing that we need to achieve. If we have to achieve individual peace, which is one very good point, some sort of a group peace, because there are groups which strike each other. Today there's foundation institutions that have been built up which do not really cooperate in so many respects, just as individuals are not cooperating. So how did all these things come about? Just to sort of jog back to the point, how did all these things come about? How did people end up this way? How over the years the generation has been made up to look or to have that kind of image or that kind of attitude toward life. What is life, and what is life about? What really can we consider as life, or what do I consider as life? I'm going to say what I think life is about, what I consider to be life, and how I respect life and I respect my neighbor or my other my neighbor, or let's say my fellow human being in that respect, male or female, young or old, all regards how I view human being. But all these things come from the source, or let's say building that understanding which reflects or shows whether there is a beginning to the life that we have today, whether there is a source, the very original source from which all these things came about, including myself, having a good definition which will sort of solidly make this whole video understandable to you who listens, or you, the good fellow out there who decides to click on to listen to whatever it is that I'm trying to put forth. I think this procedure is also a start or a beginning of trying to build peace, a peaceful soul, a peaceful mind, a peaceful life. In many respects, somehow something that drives us away from violence and having a good sense of approach to life. And I strongly think that whatever we've been fed with all our lives, like I said, the books that I, for instance, have realized these things, and the knowledge that we have regarding God, who God is, how do we view God, how do we define God? Do we define Him as we sort of we seek Him? Is it does it tally? Does it really make sense? Are we logically approaching our own faith in a strategic, sensible manner? Are we doing it in the way that it should be done, according to how we believe? And in whatever we believe, are we following what we believe in as much as how it has been presented to us, so that we can really, or I can, if I'm able to point out certain things, you can make for yourself your mind up of what probably you've never realized or thought of when you made your choices of who God was, or whoever you believe in was. Previously, I have spoken of certain verses and quotations in the Quran, and both the Quran and the Bible. Unfortunately, I don't really have the Torah, which is something that the Jewish book. Neither do I have the what do you call it, the Buddhist writings, which is like the 7 books of I think the 7 books of karma and all that thing. I didn't have that part, but they don't really solidly have a wider kind of audience. They do in some respect, but the long popular and more current state of which religion of which today we more find ourselves with problems and issues is more to do with the Bible, the Christian and the Muslim in that regard. And I want to clarify things that, and if lucky enough somebody who is angry, have this faith all his life and he's angry, might hear what I'm suggesting, and I'm sure some things will click in the brain to realize that, this time all that I was doing was foolishness, was not right, was silly. Why did I do that? I didn't think of it this way. And maybe it will click, and that person will then start thinking along the line that I'm thinking. And if he has any issues with somebody, he might realize that it is his personal issues that he's having with the fellow, and he can resolve it with that person, rather than thinking in the the dream state of hope and an idea of, let's say, some divine or spirit intervention, or spirit instigating something in that format. We don't need to think that the Spirit instigates